Welcome back to another action figure obsession video. It's me, your old pal Avian and Loaded, and if you go back into the archives of action figure obsession here on my channel, um, go to the earliest. If you arrange the action figure obsession playlist so that it goes oldest to newest, or newest to oldest, and you look at the two or a couple of the oldest videos, it was about a year ago. So in a way, this is kind of a 1 year anniversary, I'm going to say celebration of action figure obsession. And what prompted me to do the first action figure obsession video was my inability to say no to, gosh, I can't even remember which one I bought first now. If it was Snake Eyes or the Battle Android Trooper here. I have a collection of about 1,000 1/12 scale 6-inch action figures, which roughly breaks down to about 500 Hasbro Marvel Legends, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Avengers, X-Men, Daredevil, that kind of thing. And then about 380, I think, at last count. The only section of my collection that I actually have any kind of spreadsheet or accounting for is my G.I. Joe classified section, which are the 6-inch version of characters like this, but these are 3 3/4 inch figures, I believe. I don't have a measuring tape handy, but I will show you here. Here is a typical 6-inch figure standing next to them. This is the Captain from Next Wave, Agents of Hate. Here's another typical 6-inch figure. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. So you can see these G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero figures are very small. Here is a 1/12 scale dog next to the Battle Android Trooper. It's probably a fair fight, right? The dog versus the 3 3/4 inch bat, as they're known, Battle Android Trooper. But anyway, action figure obsession is often about doing things that you don't understand, or things that seem uncharacteristic, but you do it because you're obsessed. And I was never obsessed with G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero when the cartoon and the comic book debuted in the early to mid 80s. I was never obsessed with the animated film that came out later in the 80s. I was, however, when I was 6 or 7 years old, obsessed with the 12-inch G.I. Joes. The ones with the cloth outfits and the flocked hair. They call it flocked if it's like realistic looking hair. The 12-inch G.I. Joes appealed to me as a very young child. My brother at the time was actually fighting overseas in Vietnam, and I'm sure that there's some connection between my parents buying me G.I. Joe action figures when I was a small child and the fact that their oldest son was fighting overseas. I'm sure there's some connection there. I never had the chance to discuss it with them, and I certainly don't have that chance now. So I got to kind of guess and go by memory. But one day, I was just browsing at a vintage. It's a very strange little store in a small rural village about a half hour from my house. It's located on a traffic circle, and it has vintage LPs, long playing records, albums, vinyls, the kids call them these days, which is hilarious to me. It's like calling a coffee cup porcelains, but or comic books papers, I guess. Yeah, vinyls. Don't get me started. Anyway, but I got one of these guys. I think it was the Bat. I think the Bat was first. You'll have to go back in the archives if you care. But the guy on the right here, the Battle Android Trooper. See the nice thing that Classified doesn't do it in 6-inch? This thing does it 3 3/4 inch. Tells you right on the nameplate there who the character is. I like that on the little stand. And most G.I. Joe Classified figures don't come with the name or with the stand. Only the retro ones generally come with stands. Um, but I think it was the Battle Android Trooper that I bought first. Go back and, if you care, go back and watch that video. I can't even imagine, when you think about how bad my production quality is now and how amateurish the lighting has been. I mean, if you're new to action figure obsession, just the fact that you can actually see what you're looking at now is a real improvement over the first, 150 or so videos. Oh dear. Oh dear. I'm trying. At least I'm not mad like I was in the 58-minute Hulk rant that I went on earlier today. Did you see that one? That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I stand by everything I said, but I let my anger and outrage get the best of me. So apologies to any big Hasbro fans that might have taken offense at the things that I had to say. I stand by what I said, but I probably should have not let myself get so carried away. My emotions will be on my undoing, as Dr. McCoy once told me. So, the Battle Android Trooper in the 6-inch scale in the G.I. Joe Classified series, which debuted in 2020. I think the Bat came out in 2021 or early 2022. This guy here. That's one of my favorite figures in all of G.I. Joe Classified. It's just really, really nice. It's an army builder, so you get as many of them as you can, and you build your army, and it comes with all kind of different accessories, as this one does here. As you can see, he's got his little lobster claw thing on there, but he also has other accessories on his backpack, like a flamethrower and a drill of some kind. And those, I imagine, are all swappable on here, although I'm not going to mess with this guy too much. At this scale, I'm really afraid of breaking them. His little pistol in his little holster. Isn't that cute? It's just adorable. It's adorable. It's wonderful to me that there are adults who had these as kids and still take them seriously. They're just, to me, they're so tiny. Tiny action figures. When 1977, when Star Wars came out, and then the toys came out, and they were like 3-4 inches. That was actually what drove me out of action figure collecting for a while until I got back into it with Marvel Legends and stuff like that later on, because the like 3 3/4, 4-inch figures. I'm a man. My finger is taller than Snake Eyes here, and so. While I bought these sort of just to have representations of the Real American Hero line in my collection, it was a kind of weakness because I knew that I would never go all in on these, and I don't think that I ever will. And there are people who love these and have hundreds of them. Collections of hundreds or probably even thousands of figures have probably been made in Hasbro's 3 3/4 inch G.I. Joe or Real American Hero line from, the early to mid 1980s up until, well, I don't know if they're still making these now or not, or if they've kind of given that up to Super 7. I know Super 7 makes some figures that are close to this scale or around this scale, the Reaction series. But I don't know if Hasbro is still doing 3 3/4 inch ones. I don't know how much of a market there still is for new ones. But I got both of these really cheap. I think each of them was less than, it was either, the most I think I paid was $25. One might have been 20, one might have been 25. And I got the Bat, I think, first at that little, combination record store and vintage toys and all kind of weird stuff that they have in that store. This was like the only G.I. Joe figure they had in the entire building, the Bat here on the right. And it was cheap. I think it was $20 or $25. And I just thought it would be fun to have a cool example of the 3 3/4 inch one in my collection, because I have like 10 or 12 or 13 or 14, depending upon, what kind of we're talking. Just this color design, I think I have 8 or 10 of them. And then the other bats, like the Crimson Bat and the White Arctic Bat. And there's a couple, I think there's a Python Patrol Bat, and they're all just various color schemes, but it's mostly the same figure. Sometimes they swap out, some new accessories or pieces or whatever. The Arctic Bat is the one that's the most different from the rest of the other bats. It has a really creepy sort of science fiction-y looking head with like a Cyclops face. It's really disturbing. Not Cyclops from the X-Men, like Cyclops, like a one-eyed monster. But, yeah, so my very first video, I think, was about buying the Bat and how I had broken my word to myself that I would never go and buy a 3 3/4 inch G.I. Joe or Real American Hero figure. And here I was, action figure obsession. I was just like, well, I'll just buy the one. Just for fun. I'll just buy one. And I mean, they look gorgeous. Look at the level of detail on these is better than the level of detail on the 6-inch figure. It really is. When you look at the sculpt and the creepiness of the lobster claw and all the other accessories on his back, I'm pretty sure that they're more detailed and better paint than you see on the 6-inch ones. But that's not really a surprise because it's Hasbro and they always just make these baffling decisions. Who knows? So, I'm not sure how much later. I could go back in the playlist and look, but sometime later, maybe a few weeks or maybe even a month or two later, I found and these are both from the same, I don't know if it was a wave or just a series that came out over a period of time, but these were both from the 25th anniversary of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, the launch of the original toy line. And they were sort of, I think, a commemorative 25th anniversary edition. I don't really know too much about the history of the Real American Hero line. I don't know how dormant it had been before they came out with the 25th anniversary stuff, or if it was just always like an evergreen that was available in stores. But at some point, I was at Replay Toys in Burnt Hills, New York, my favorite vintage toy store. Tell Shane I said hi if you ever go in there. And I saw this guy, with Snake Eyes. And I'm like, well, Snake Eyes is my favorite character in G.I. Joe. And he is. I have a shelf dedicated solely to Snake Eyes. There's about 40 Snake Eyes on it. And there's a couple more Snake Eyes on my main G.I. Joe classified shelf. So there's a lot of Snake Eyes in my collection. And they're not all different designs. Some of them are kit bashes. Some of them are multiples. I think, like, for example, the 6-inch version of this figure you see at the left here, kind of the Ninja Snake Eyes. I think I have, I don't know, 4 or 5 of those. Definitely have 5 or 6 of the number 52 Snake Eyes, which was one that they way overproduced. That one came with Timber, and it was like the Arctic Commando Snake Eyes or something. And that one went on deep clearance, so I just bought as many of those as I could. And most of my kit bashes are based on that particular Snake Eyes. But anyway, I saw this Snake Eyes at Replay Toys, and I made the fatal mistake, #ActionFigureObsession, of looking at the packaging and realizing this, too, was from the 25th anniversary wave or series, just like the Bat was. So then I thought, well, if I get this Snake Eyes, I'll have the 3 3/4-inch version of my favorite G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes, and my favorite Cobra Army builder, the Battle Android Trooper. And then I can just stop there. And in a shocking twist, I did. Those were the only 2 3 3/4-inch G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. See, I always want to say G.I. Joe Classified because to me that's what the line is. That's the focus of my collection when it comes to G.I. Joe now. And for the past 6 years since the line started in 2020. And Snake Eyes was the first figure that I bought in 2020. And I've mentioned this before, but in case you haven't heard this story, when I saw Snake Eyes at a toy and gaming shop in Saratoga County, New York, I held that 02 Snake Eyes, which is similar in design to the one you see before you, although he doesn't have the knives on his chest. But the 6-inch 02 G.I. Joe Classified Series Snake Eyes, when I saw him at this gaming and hobby shop, my first thought was, well, it's 6 inches, so it'll fit with my Marvel Legends. And I was aware of who Snake Eyes was at the time. I have since educated myself as far as his backstory and his lore and his mythology, the ARAH clan, and his relationship with Storm Shadow and the Hard Master and the Soft Master. And I know the bullet points of Snake Eyes' history. But at the end of the day, I just like Snake Eyes because he's a cool looking character. He's mysterious. He never speaks. You never see his face. At least almost never. If you've read the comics a few times, you've seen his face. But, and I have read a few of the comics just to kind of fill in the gaps in my knowledge. I mean, that was how I learned about, the Arashikage clan, and how, you know, was it Zartan pretending to be Storm Shadow killed, was it the Soft Master or the Hard Master? One of the two of them. I don't know. I'm not really all that concerned with it. If you're if you're a huge GI Joe or Real American Hero fan and you're like, boy, he's getting all this stuff wrong. Well, I don't really care. I care about the figures. That is really, at the end of the day, what I care about. And so starting a year ago, I began this incredible journey of building this collection of G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero 25th anniversary figures. One character from Cobra and one character from G.I. Joe. And here they are. And this is my entire collection of G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero 25th anniversary figures. And it's probably always going to be my complete collection. I mean, and I know there are people, like I said, that have hundreds, if not thousands of these. And, I've seen people's collections. I saw a guy's collection one time of the Marvel Universe figures or was it Hasbro? Yeah, I think it was Hasbro that made the Marvel Universe figures. I guess when the price of plastic went through the roof and they were looking for ways to save money, so they switched from the 6-inch figures to the, I don't know, 3 inches, 4 inches, however big the Marvel Universe figures were. But I was at a guy's house one time, a fellow collector, and he showed me his bookcases full of the like the 3 3/4 inch or however tall they were Marvel Universe figures, which at that time were basically that era's version of Marvel Legends. If you were collecting Marvel characters, that's what you had to buy, those Marvel Universe figures. And the great thing about them was you could fit so goddamn many of them on a shelf. I mean, look at these guys. They take up so little space. Look how much space these Space Hogs 6-inch figures take up. They're huge. They're just so big. They tower over these G.I. Joes. But if you just get the little... Sorry, Snake Eyes. Sorry, buddy. If you just get these little guys, the sky's the limit as far as, how much space your collection is going to take up. You can have thousands of them and still be able to walk through your house probably and actually have a television and a couch and other things besides toys. Maybe you don't have to live in a room that is nothing but toys and a bed. How nice that must be. But I just wanted to show you these guys. I actually, the Snake Eyes there on the left, you see how he has those knives that pop onto his chest. There's a little tiny peg, and they pop onto his chest. And I guess that's a reference to something in Snake Eyes design or history. I don't know. I don't really care. At this scale, me and my 1-to-1 scale hands can't really manipulate this stuff too much, so I'm not going to play with his accessories or, do too much with him. I did finally figure out that his Uzi, which is my favorite Snake Eyes accessory, has a little hook on it, and it clips onto a little loop on his belt or something, so I did finally wise up and put that on there. I don't like him holding the Uzi because it's too large for his scale, in my opinion. It just looks too big. But it doesn't look bad that way, hooked on his belt. His little assuming night vision goggles, those lift up and you can see his face. Well, not his face, but his mask, his goggles, Snake Eyes. There he is, and then I put him back down. They were a little cockeyed, pardon the pun. But everything is so delicate and dainty with these figures that I almost hate to touch them because I'm so afraid that I'm going to break them. And I don't want to break them. I mean, I have them now. This is another weird part about having an action figure obsession is I kind of bought them on a whim just to, it seemed like a fun idea to have a couple of these in the toy room as examples of G.I. Joe at its original, the Real American Hero characters at their original scale, or close to their original scale. I'm not sure if these maybe are a little smaller or a little bigger than the original ones. because I don't really know too much about it. And again, I don't really care. I mean, if you want to tell me in the comments, I'm listening. I'm open to it. I'm open to the history, but I'm not gonna spend my life digging it up. You know, I just think they look cool. I wish, and now that I'm seeing them on the screen here, and I'm really looking at them under the lights of my beautifully lit production studio with the new and improved lighting, and yeah, I can see the level of detail on these guys. I get it. I kind of get it, guys. They kind of blow the shit out away of, or they blow away the GI Joe Classified in terms of the level of detail, and I always thought they'd be simpler, but no, they're actually more complex and more. They look more realistically proportioned, and the bat is actually considerably more terrifying than the GI Joe Classified one. That's impressive. And all that being said, that doesn't mean I'm going to go out and buy any more of these, because I'm not. Um, I'm not looking for another scale to collect figures in. I'm very happy with my legions of 6-inch figures, of which these are just the overflow and the doubles and the kit bashable ones. And you love it when I do this, don't you? Brought to you by, yeah. But you know, this is my happy place, the 6-inch figures, and animals and Sons of Satan and Elvis Modocs. That's where I go all in and whole hog and go for the gold. I can't think of any more cliches. But on this sort of very close to 1 year anniversary of my 2-figure journey into collecting G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, in 3 3/4-inch scale, I did want to kind of make note of it. And if you've been around since the beginning, or if you've gone back and watched those videos or my earliest videos of Action Figure Obsession, and slowly seen both the progress and the devolution that this channel has gone through, I just wanted to celebrate good times. Come on. I just wanted to celebrate where it started, how I got here, how I got to all this crazy mess. What the hell happened at all? It didn't. Well, I mean, I had most of this crap before I bought these guys or did those videos. But buying the Battle Android Trooper on the right here, that was the beginning of the Action Figure Obsession video. Let's call it a phenomenon, shall we? I mean, it's taking the world by storm, clearly. Or at least Colossus. Yeah, it's where this all started. I would not have dreamed when I did that video that I was ever going to do a second one or a third one. And at some point, God willing, and the creek don't rise, as they say, I may do my 200th one, I think. I think we're coming up on number 200 for Action Figure Obsession. 200 videos, and you can blame it all on this little 3 3/4-inch Battle Android Trooper here on the right, and to a certain lesser degree, his buddy Snake Eyes on the left. And, it's not a coincidence that these two characters and these two designs are my favorite thing in G.I. Joe Classified. Maybe that's what attracted me, because it's like the things that I love the most in my 6-inch G.I. Joe Classified line, but not. It's like an alternate universe version of that, I guess. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to show you. I had to look it up to see who these even belong to, because this was in the accessory bag, but I couldn't tell whose it was or what even it was for. Turns out it's like a 3-way nunchucks, one of those. I'm guessing the one in the middle actually goes in the middle, and then the other two clip on the ends. And it's like I had to look up this Snake Eyes, which I had a harder time than I expected, finding a picture that actually showed all his original accessories, but eventually I did find it, and it was this. So these are his. I don't see any point taking them out of the package. Fully assembled, this tri-nunchuck thing, 3 nunchucks. would be taller than him. There's some scale issues, I think, at this scale. It doesn't take much to lose believability. Like I say, his Uzi. I mean, he has a trigger finger hand, and I have put the Uzi in the trigger finger hand, but just the scale looks weird. It looks very weird. And I think they look better just standing there on their stands. I don't even have a place to put these guys on their stands, but now that I have found their stands, because I went looking for the knives, I had not lost, but I remembered that I had put the knives away in my G.I. Joe classified bin. So I went digging through there, and luckily, there's a method to my madness with a lot of the ways that I store stuff and the system that I use, even though I couldn't explain it to you out loud in words if my life depended on it. But once I opened up the bin, and my G.I. Joe Classified Series bin is my biggest, fullest bin full of accessories. It's enormous, and there's a lot of shit in it. Because it's all the accessories that I'm not using from 380 different action figures. And each one of those figures probably comes with 3 or 4 different accessories. So, there's probably over 1,000 accessories in that bin. But luckily, I kind of know myself, and I know my own habits and my own systems, and I found the knives and the little baggie that the knives were in, along with the nunchuck thing. I found it pretty quick. There are things that I'm still looking for. I'm still looking for my MCU Stealth Captain America and the other figures that I know were with him when I decided, I'm going to get these out of the way for a little while. I'm not really using them. Because now, there's room on the work table here, and I got a whole big Captain America section, and I could just put him with the Captain Americas here. But I can't remember where I put the goddamn figures. But I found those little knives, which are like the size of, not even the size of a quarter. They're like maybe the width of a nickel, or what's the word that I'm looking for? Not perimeter, diameter. The diameter of a nickel. These, the knives on his chest. Oh, they're so cute. Aren't they so cute? Imagine all those G.I. Joe or Real American Hero collectors, how they must have suffered the humiliation of their mother telling them how cute their little collection was. I mean, say what you will. Nobody's ever told me my 6-inch collection is cute, Obnoxious, yes, overpopulated, definitely. But, I mean, are they cute? Well, Black Widow fell over. Okay, that's fine. That's that old retro Black Widow. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to her. Nobody does. Well, it's been almost a half an hour. And again, just to sort of acknowledge and celebrate 1 year of action figure obsession here on the Avian and Loaded channel. As you can hear all the trucks outside, very excited about the anniversary. Yeah, revving their engines in excitement and the thrill of knowing that right here in our little town, in this one little hidden upper floor garret, the toy room, the secret headquarters of action figure obsession. Everybody's so excited, just revving their engines. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Action Figure Obsession, and if you've been along for the whole ride, thank you for joining me for a year of Action Figure Obsession. I really do appreciate you spending some time with me today, and any time that you feel that it's a worthy investment of your time, I don't take it for granted, and I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, like anything I had to say about G.I. Joe, give it a thumbs down. That's fine. Leave a comment if you have any further information that might fill in the gaps in my knowledge of the Real American Hero 3 3/4 inch line. I'd love to know anything you want to share with me. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you find out the next time I upload a new video here on Action Figure Obsession. And I think that's going to do it for this one. I will see you on the next edition of Action Figure Obsession. And remember, Yo Joe.